right, now that I've worked through the majority of the projects submitted so far, there's a few I have left. I wanted to touch base on a few common errors that I see in the Lit Review section in particular. When we have an author, the easiest way to do this right here is just to put the last name and then the year in parentheses. And so I'm going to just read this and tell you how I would revise this to make it more succinct and impactful. What happens in Lit Review, probably the two main things, is that we don't write succinctly. We tend to kind of write like how we talk. The second thing in Lit Review is not for opinion at all. It is what the research says. So at times you can add in some things to do some connecting, but for the majority of the literature review, it's going to be information, citation, information, citation, information, citation, and then at the end you summarize. This is what the research says, and this is how it applies to my study. In this particular example right here, Kulo 2014, the author of the Chromebook study, the author of the Chromebook study could be removed because it's a much more succinct and stronger sentence if we just say Kulo 2014 found that having an alternative instructional approach and the traditional instructional approach in the classroom provided positive engagement and achievement results. A second example that I see common, again, is just probably too many words. So a study was performed on best practices of technology integration in middle school classrooms. This could be shortened up and just provided in a more succinct way by saying a study regarding middle school classrooms found that teachers will not be successful integrating technology unless they design, customize, monitor, and assess the digital learning environment. And then you have the citation there. The issue is here that we want succinct writing. So sometimes we're just a little too wordy. So go back and reread what you've written and see how you can remove some of those words. Another example down here is teachers must utilize explicit instruction on the proper use of the internet and technological applications. Students need to be provided. Okay, I'm going to start right there with, we tend to write a lot of what we call musty language. So must and should and need really needs to be removed out of this. In other words, the research may say, what are the what practices are effective for teachers to do in the classroom or students to do in the classroom, whatever your topic is. But if you have must, should, or need, you probably need to go back and revise that and present it more as effective strategies based on research, or teachers that use these strategies have a more effective approach or effective result or something like that. So avoid using must, should, and need. I'm going to skip down again here, just the succinct writing. A study in West Virginia resulted in an increase in test scores. Again, it's probably just a little bit too much information. Just go ahead and tell us what the research says and then put in the citation. Down here towards the bottom it says gains in student test scores on the SAT appeared attributable to the alignment of the targeted curriculum standards with the software, teacher instruction, and test. Here, because this is related to this study, this is a really nice easy fix. Just go ahead and put parentheses 1999. So a couple things to know is that if you, in one paragraph, if you only use you're only citing one person, one study, you can cite that person in the very beginning and then just put parentheses with the year after it so the reader knows that we're still talking about the same study. What happens is if we have this study and another study in there and then we have some information between, it's really hard for the reader to decipher, well, which does this go to, if I wanted to look this up. So that's just an easy way to put those parentheses in. Thinking about this one, the study also said that students need to be able to set their own, again, the need language, referring to a study but you're not telling me which one, really needs to have some type of connection back to whatever study you're talking about. Let's see, let me think about an agreed upon purpose for RTI will provide set terms for the research. On this one, it's just about the language that could be used. So if we're agreeing upon the purpose for the RTI is different than providing the set terms for research. So just make sure that your language matches what you're going to present. I think in this situation it would be more of a definition. So the set terms for the research more clarify the definition of RTI and support that. In the next one, Dr. Applegate, 2020, a National Registry question reviewer, states that, again, this one, take out everything. All you really need is Applegate 2020, comma, a National Registry question reviewer, comma, states the following. Now, I want to remind you that if you use a quote, then you have to use a page number or a paragraph number. Also, I want to remind you to use quotes sparingly. Okay, let's continue here. There's a few more examples. When candidates take the cognitive test and fail the test, they get 5 more tries. So I would just encourage you all to make sure that you're using academic language. Tries versus attempts would be better academic language. And according to the readings intervention, it is usually split into 3 tiers. Tier 1 consists of universal interventions that are applicable to all students. If you're going to say according to the readings or according to the authors or according to the study, again, you have to go back and tell me what study. Even if you just had the in parentheses with the author and the year is the minimum that you have to have when you're citing back to research. And then kind of overall, I know it's really common for us to just want to put extra spaces in. So everything is double spaced in APA, including where you have subheadings and headings. But again, just make sure that is all double spaced. Your headings and subheadings will be in bold, and the rest of the document will not be in bold. Overall, make sure that all of your document, just do the New Times Roman or Times New Roman 12-point font is just the easiest thing to do. Make sure go through and highlight it and just copy the whole document and make sure that it's formatted in the same way. So these are just some common errors. I would caution you about using a lot of quotes, and if you use a quote that you embed it into a sentence and maybe just quote the most important part. I would also caution you about using block quotes. If you do use a quote that's more than like 2 or 3 lines, can't remember exactly on APA, but I think it's about 3 lines, then it does need to go in a block quote. But research shows that we tend to overlook quotes and block quotes. So try to use them sparingly, but when you need to use them, and make sure that you use the page number or the paragraph number at the end so we know for sure that you recognize that this is a direct quote. I hope this helps just a little bit on some common errors. What I see overall is the writing is strong, just a few things to tighten up.